You have completed the name of God. The transliteration that I gave was YHWH. In the Hebrew, there were no vowels, and so he has the yod, the hey, the wow, and the hey that is there. So he says, you have completed the name of God, or the yod, the hey, the vowel, and the hey. The final result, the objectification of your assumption, is not your concern, so don't be concerned about how. Just know that it already is. It will come into view automatically as you assume the consciousness of being. In other words, you'll be led step by step. You'll be led. You'll be guided. You will hear a voice that says, this is the way, walk you in it. And so you will be led. Or that text says, take no thought. You will be led, and that's what he's bringing forth here. And what we're doing is giving you, again, a tool. This is a very powerful tool that will work for you. Now, let us turn, Neville says, now let us turn to the Son's name, for he gives the Son dominion over the world. You are that Son. You are God's child. You are the great Joshua or Jesus of the Bible. You know the name Joshua or Jehoshua is the angelicalized as Jesus. The Son's name is also like the Father's. The first three letters of the Father's name are the first three letters of the Son's name. Yod, He, Thou. Then you add a shin and an ayin, making the Son's name read Jod, He, Thou, Shin, Ayin. You have heard that the first three are Yod, He, Thou. Yod means that you are aware. He means that you are aware of something. And thou means that you have become aware of being that of which you are aware. You have dominion because you have the ability to conceive and to become that which you conceive. That is a power of creation. It was Einstein that said that imagination was more important than knowledge. Imagination was more important than knowledge. This is the way that Neville Goddard is saying the same thing, that you can imagine that you already are what it is that you desire to be. You can step in that place and act as if, or if you want to call it pretend, or play the role, whatever it may be, but you imagine that you already are that which you desire to be. But why is a shin put in the name of the Son? Because of the infinite mercy of our Father. Mind you, the Father and the Son are one. Jesus said, I and my Father are one. But when the Father becomes conscious of being man, he puts within the condition called man that he did not give unto himself. He puts a shin for this purpose. The shin is symbolized as a tooth. It's symbolized as a tooth. A tooth is that which consumes, that which devours. I must have within me the power to consume that which I now dislike. I, in my ignorance, he says, brought to birth certain things I now dislike and would like to leave behind. You want to be different from the way that you are. You want to have different. You want to be different. You want to do different. So you have the power to leave this behind. That's through the Son. Were there not within me the flames that would consume it, I would be condemned forever to live in the world of all my mistakes. But there is a shin or a flame within the name of the Son, which allows that Son to become detached from states he formerly expressed within the world. Man is incapable of seeing other than the contents of his own consciousness. If I now become detached in consciousness from this room by turning my attention away from it, then I am no longer conscious of it. There is something in me that devours it within me. I can only live within my objective world if I keep it alive in my consciousness. It is the shin or the tooth in the Son's name that gives him absolute dominion. Why could it not have been in the Father's name? For the simple reason, nothing can cease to be in the Father. Even the unlovely things cannot cease to be. If I once give it in expression, forever and ever it remains locked within the dimensionally greater self, which is the Father. But I would not like to keep alive within my world all of my mistakes. So I, in my infinite mercy, gave to myself when I became man the power to become detached from these things that I, in my ignorance, brought to birth in my world. These are the two names which give you dominion: Jehovah, Jesus. You have dominion if, as you walk the earth, you know that your consciousness is God, the one and only reality. You become aware of something you would like to express or to possess. You have the ability to feel that you are and possess that which but a moment before was only imaginary. You have the ability to feel that you are already, and that you can feel that you possess that which but a moment before was imaginary. The final result, the embodying of your assumption, is completely outside of the offices of the three-dimensional mind. It comes to birth in a way that no person knows. If these two names are clear in your mind's eye, you will see that they are your eternal names. As you are here, you are Yod He Thou He, and you are Yod He Thou Shin Ayin. The stories of the Bible concern themselves exclusively with the power of imagination. They are really dramatizations of the technique of prayer, for prayer is the secret of changing the future. The Bible reveals the key by which man enters a dimensionally larger world for the purpose of changing the conditions of the lesser world in which he lives. A prayer granted implies that something is done in consequence of the prayer, which otherwise would not have been done. Therefore, man is the spring of action. Woman is the spring of action. You are the spring of action. You are the directing mind, the one who grants the prayer. The stories of the Bible contain a powerful challenge to the thinking capacity of a person. The underlying truth that they are psychological dramas and not historical facts demands reiteration, inasmuch as it is the only justification for the stories. With a little imagination, we may easily trace the psychological sense in all the stories of the Bible. And God said, "Let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps upon the earth." So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Genesis chapter 1, verses 26-27. Here in the first chapter of the Bible, the ancient teachers lay the foundation that God and man are one, and that man has dominion over all the earth. If God and man are one, then God can never be so far off as even to be near, for nearness implies separation. The question arises, what is God? God is man's consciousness, his awareness, his I amness. The drama of life is a psychological one in which we bring circumstances to pass by our attitudes rather than by our acts. The cornerstone on which all things are based is man's concept of himself. He acts as he does and has the experiences that he does because his concept of himself is what it is, and for no other reason. Had he a different concept of himself, he would act differently and have different experiences. Man, or human being, by assuming the feeling of his wish fulfilled, alters his future in harmony with his assumption. For assumptions, though false, if sustained, will harden into fact. This is a powerful statement that in my reading of Neville actually comes forth over and over and over again. And so let me just repeat it again. A person, you, me, a human being, by assuming the feeling of your wish fulfilled, alters your future in harmony with your assumption. For assumptions, though false, if sustained, will harden into fact. It says that when you pray, believe that you have already received. And so you are assuming, you are having faith, you are believing that it is already done. And if you stay with that assumption, it will harden into fact. The assumption will harden into fact. And so as you get into that space and that place is what he's talking